in the mix
with the Commish, Nate.
All right, fellas, welcome in to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. I'm running a little bit late because this afternoon, the wife wanted to put out all of the fall and Halloween decorations. I was like, oh yeah, that won't take very long. Well, it took very long, but we got through it, and we're coming to you just a little bit later than normal. What up, Bird? What up, Randy? Hope you guys are doing good here on a Sunday as we wrap up the evening with some Sunday night football going on. My Saints lost again, but it was okay. They were competitive. It was a fun game to watch, but you can see there's a gap of talent between where our team is and where some of those other teams are. Let's jump right into it and do some recaps of what's been going on here in the OMFL. Looking at week number 10, Las Vegas Raiders win. J-Bows wins 40-10. I think that was a CPU game, though, because I think Mile High, Jay Glaze is out for a couple more weeks here. Randy with a 52-32 victory over Cincyberg. Beal with a 31-17 victory over Colin, who's hit a bit of a skid here recently. We'll talk about his latest game, which kind of shocked me here tonight. Little Koch falls to Kobe 40-23. Kevin and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall to Lost Sniper 37-25. Buffalo and Mr. Joker come away with a 24-17 victory against Massimo. Mr. Big Hurt finding some momentum here in the latter part of the season, 41-33 over Nipples. My Saints fall to Carolina. Mr. Birdman 35-27. Nicesonger with a impressive 37-17 victory over Roger. I almost said Joker. I don't know why. Meek with a 36-27 victory over Maniac, who was just coming off a big-time victory over D-Wayne. D-Money with a 48-14 victory over Crazy B-Man. A tight game here in Washington with Mr. Penguins coming away with a 43-41 victory over Tim. Logan, a 38-31 victory over Trey. This game would be sort of some of what I thought was going to be a bit of a demise for his season, but clearly he's going to be okay. And then Twinkie with a 23-14 victory over Mr. Priest. I want to come back up here and talk about this. Logan. No, I'm sorry. This was not the game. This was the game. I want to talk about Penguins and Tim. Tim's been trying to find some momentum this season, and you can see his team got really hot there in the fourth quarter. The problem is he fell 23-14 in the first half, and then out of halftime was down 7-13 and had to score a bunch of points here in the fourth quarter. Made it a tight game, a close game, but just not enough. The 3 turnovers were going to be too much for him, but he did have a good day on the ground with 146, a good day in the air with 281, but Mr. Penguins was able to get that passing game going there with 343 passing yards on the day. And you see time of possession heavily towards Tim and those Detroit Lions, 28-15, which usually means big play, big play, big play. Jaden Daniels, 3-1. 69% completion percentage, a QBR of 134.2. Fargus, not a bad day for him, 92.2 on the QBR and 294 in the air, 3-3. That's going to suck a little bit, but 66% completion percentage is going to be really nice. Gibbs, 14 for 76 and 2 on the day. Samuels is becoming the big play guy here for the Washington Commanders, 8 for 67, 24 of them came on 1 carry, and then Montgomery 11 for 42. So a nice little two-headed monster going there for Tim and his line. St. Brown 11 for 159 and 1, but McLaurin had 4 for 126, a 31.5 average and 2 touchdowns on the day. And then finally looking at the defense, Gilmore, even at his advanced mentor age, 13 tackles on the day, 1 tackle for a loss. Your sack leader is going to be Payne with 2 on the day. And then finally your interceptions, Graham, Campbell, Butler, Bradbury. I didn't even know Bradbury is still in the league. Look at Bradbury still getting it done, all with an interception and a really good game there in Washington as those two teams came down to the very end. And that could be a momentum builder for Tim and those Detroit Lions. Moving on to week number 11, the Jets and the Patriots Kobe versus Lost Sniper. This one did not go Lost Sniper's way, but to be fair, and I'm going to let you guys know that I may probably going to submit a rule that if you play past half, that you can play another half and then add those two scores up and give somebody the win there and either sim it or play the CP or whatever. Because playing somebody like Kobe 3 times at a complete fresh restart just doesn't feel fair. And that is an old rule we used to have back in the PC days. If you got past half, then you could count the half, play another half, add up the two scores, and then make a decision. Now, the decision could be that both owners go, hey, we're having a really good game here in the second game. Let's keep on. Then you throw it out the window. Or it's like, hey, we played 2 halves. I was blowing you out 2 halves. I'm keeping the win. I'm going to take a sim victory. Anyway, Lost Sniper was in the lead in both of those games. I think there was 3 or 6 seconds left in the first game. When it DC'd, the Jets were going to try to kick a long field goal, and then New England had another lead into the second half when it DC'd the second time. Never goes your way the third time, especially against a guy like Kobe, who's so good. Penguins with an impressive victory over Massimo 24-22. Byron with a 27-10 victory over Roger. Logan with a 27-21 victory over Denbrew. This game also would kind of go against the books. We can talk about that later. Trey with a 24-17 victory over Nysanger. Green Bay and Priest beat the Bills. Jeez, all the names are in my head. I'm all mixed up here. Priest beats Bill 24-20. Impressive victory there for Mr. Priest. Kevin falls to Joker 38-24 in another oh no, that game was not played. I think that game had to be a sim because their schedules couldn't meet up. Same thing up here. I didn't notice that one with Penguins and Massimo, so shouldn't have talked about those games. Carolina beats Atlanta. I get to watch a little bit of this game. Bird beats Cincyberg by a point. Cincyberg kicked a field goal at the end. It stayed zoomed in on the Falcons kicker, so I couldn't even see if it was good or not. Bird said it bounced off the bottom goalpost, bounced back out. It was no good. Carolina comes away with that victory. Big Hurt with a 34-24 victory over Colin. That's impressive as Big Hurt seems to be ascending and the Bears seem to be descending. Maniac with a 42-21 victory over Crazy B-Man. Nice victory there for Arizona as they're building some momentum to try to make a late run here. D-Money continues his hot streak against Meek Boy 31-17, though usually Meek owns him in the regular season. Not this time. 31-17 is going to D-Money. Kansas City, Argo, I don't even know what to call him anymore. Luca Mahomes, I don't know what he's going by anymore. I need to look up. What is he on Discord? Somebody tell me, what is he in Discord? Shocks. I should just burn that into my memory. It's Shocks. So Shocks with a beating the CPU 35-7 there. Nipples with a 28-17 victory over Little Koch. Twinkie with a nice win over Tim 33-24. Those two guys were having some friendly banter in a chat on their microphones. I don't know how you do that. I couldn't do that. Dwayne with a 48-20 victory over Jay Bowles and the Las Vegas Raiders. Some really good games here. I got to talk about this Carolina-Atlanta game. Two powerhouses. One that seemed to be on a hot streak in Cincyberg and the Atlanta Falcons. One that seemed to be cooling way off and trying to get a draft pick in Bird. But man, Bird is super competitive in everything he does. He is a savant at play calling and a really good team builder. I think Cincyberg also great team builder, very good play caller, and a guy who just knows how to run offense. This one came down to the wire in Atlanta. You can see the rushing yards, 143-100. Only 178 passing yards to 234. So both teams playing some pretty good defense. And I think even if you look at these other scores in the league since the update, this score would be a defensive score, 24-23. 453 yards to 430 yards. One turnover in this game, and that was going to be for Carolina. And then finally, we're going to look at the time of possession. Pretty close, 1933-24. 27. Looking at the passing leaders here, 126 QBR for Young, 106.2 for Penix, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception for Young, 1 touchdown, no turnovers for Penix. Neither guy was sacked more than once, and both guys with a 75% completion percentage. Running the ball, Hubbard, what a day. 15 for 126 and a touchdown. He had a long of 75. Algier, 4 for 54, no touchdowns. Robinson, 14 for 46. Everybody else really struggled on the day. Pitts, 5 for 62. Oh, no. I think we have an FPR break there. So I'm going to have to come back and look at that. So I'm going to have to make a note. Fun job of looking at stats. I hate when I look at a game and I see an FPR. But I'm going to come back and look at this one. Why is my pen not writing? Okay, that pen's not writing. I have to get some ink for that one. I already got some ink. We're going to break out this other pen so we can move on with our lives. This is not very fun to listen to, but I do need to come look at this. Falcons FPR. Off the surface, you guys can look at this. Lowry had 6. Oh, I see it down here. Only 6 for 31. You're right. That's why I said I was going to come back and look at this one and add it up. I was just trying to catch it on the fly. You always kind of freak out when you see it at the top, and then I was seeing the other ones. And I didn't catch that this is by yards and not receptions. So thank you for catching that for me. I was not going to just pop him. I was going to come back and look at it a little later when I could think a bit more clearly. But looks like big plays going over to the tight end for Atlanta. And Carolina needed to do a better job covering him. McMullen, 11 tackles on the day. Dobbs with 10. So 2 of these Panther defenders getting it done. Only 2 sacks on the day, 1 from Pierce. I'm not even going to try Princely's last name, and Anderson each shared half a sack. And we only had the 1 interception from Billy Bowman. What a name from the rookie from Oklahoma, Billy Bowman, and Atlanta falls just barely short. If you didn't catch the end of this one, you should go check it out. It was a pretty good game. I just caught the very, very end. And you could tell it was a nail biter as we got towards the end of that game. What a Brady. I can't talk. My mouth is not functioning tonight. I don't know what's going on. Here in week number 12, which we just advanced a few minutes ago, it feels like, and there's always a handful of games already done. Mr. Denbrew wins 38-35 over Lost Sniper. I think it might have been the battle of the PlayStation portals. I think both these guys might still be traveling with their PlayStation portals. So that was a really good game. Lost Sniper trying to make Cincinnati and Denbrew earn it. Looking down here to it's stuck in my head. Penguins with Steelers. It is no more. Logan with a 47-39 victory over Colin. And I think I lost a lot of money on this one. I forget what I was getting in the Bears, laying money on the Bears. I need to go look at that one because I did not expect Logan, with the suspensions that he has, including his quarterback suspended for 4 games, would do this kind of stuff to a past champion. That is an impressive victory for Logan and the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is legitimately going to be a problem for the AFC. Yeah, Brady, this is the world's oldest and longest online Madden league in the world. Started in 2001, still going strong today. So over 20, whatever the math is, 25 years. I think we're turning 26 in January. And then look at Mr. Randy, man, with a 51-13 victory over Shocks. An impressive victory there for the Indianapolis Colts. Let's go dig into this Lost Sniper Denbrew game. This was a really good one. 140 rushing yards for this New England's running game. Man, that's really impressive. 292 passing to 281, 25 first downs to 21. A lot of points scored in the second half. A lot of points scored in the fourth quarter. We see that a lot with the games here in the OMFL. Both guys are kind of filling each other out, or one jumps out to a big lead. The other guy kind of battles his way back. Then we get to the fourth quarter, and man, major points begin to be scored. 2 turnovers each for each of these guys. Red zone percentage, we had 57% for the Bengals. So the Patriots doing a great job there in the red zone. And then 25-18 in the time of possession. Looking over here to the detailed stats, we got Joe Burrow with a 104.1 rating, 306, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. 60% for both of these guys. 2 sacks for Joe, 1 for May. May having a really good day with 3 and 2, 289 passing. Henderson, 14 for 115, a long of 25. So he's getting some nice long gashes there with an 8.2 average. Brown, 8 for 55, a 6.9 average. Both of those guys scoring touchdowns on the day. Diggs, 9 for 120. Diggs still getting it done there for New England. Chase, 4 for 96 and a touchdown. Harden, 5 for 83 and a touchdown. The import is playing really good football. Taylor Britt, 10 tackles on the day. Look at your tackles for loss leader. In this one, a bunch of guys with 1, only 3 sacks on the day. Epps, Jenkins, and Landry. And then your interception leaders, you got Epps, Taylor Britt, Battle, and Murphy still grabbing one there. Murphy is a problem. That guy still is causing some havoc here in the OMFL. And then finally, it's time to go to my buddy Denbrew for some OMFL news. I think that's exactly what we've got coming up here. So Denbrew, why don't you take it away from me, big buddy? What big belly? What the hell am I saying? I'm having a stroke over here, y'all. You got to be kind to me as I figure this stuff out.
Welcome back to the OMFL News. I am Denbrew. This is your OMFL News. We just advanced to week 12 about 50 minutes ago, and we have 7 weeks remaining in this first season of Madden 26. The playoff races are in full swing. Most of the division races are still up in the air. Let's take a quick look at the division races and see who is currently on top of each division and who is right there on the cusp. Over in the AFC North, that one is still anyone's division with the Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens all right there in the hunt. The AFC South is a tight race with the Colts sitting on top currently, with Byron and his Titans right there, just 1 game back. Over in the AFC East, though, Kobe is sitting there with 8-2, looking like he should wrap this one up in the next week or two. He has a nice cushion over there in the East. I would say the same thing for the AFC West with Trey and the Chargers looking like they can have this one wrapped up in the next few weeks also. Jumping over to the NFC over in the North, the Bears sitting there on top at 6-4, and that is good enough to lead that division with no one else having a winning record. Over in the South, NFC South, it's a 2-man race. You've got Cincy and the Falcons and Bird and his Panthers. That one could come right down to the wire, and taking a peek ahead and looking at the schedule, those two will face off in week 14, so that'll be a huge matchup. The entire NFC East is having a fine season. Currently, the Giants are on top with Dallas there, Washington, and Philadelphia all in the playoff hunt, so great season there over in the NFC East by those 4 teams. The NFC West got the Rams, shocker, on top, but Seattle also not a shocker right there, ready to make a playoff push. That one is definitely not over, and those 2 teams, again, they're going to meet up in week 16, so that one will definitely have some playoff implications. Big week 16 matchup there with the Rams and Seattle. All right, that's your look at the divisional races. That's all I got for this week. We're going to send it back to Nate and press pass live.
I appreciate our buddy Denbrew for doing the OMFL news. He's always squeezing those in for me. I want to talk about the top 5 teams, and I got to be honest with you, I cheated just a little bit on this one. With number 5, I'm bunching a bunch of teams together because I just could not bring myself to separating it and leaving somebody out of it. So in that group, I want to first talk about the Indianapolis Colts. Randy is a powerhouse in this league, and quickly in his short tenure, even though he's been here for a couple of years, I don't know how much longer we can say short tenure. Golly, we'll get it all out. I don't know how much longer we can say that because he's been here for some time, and he has always been a powerhouse in the league. He's got Richardson up to 35 and 15. This is starting to make me think that as we move into the new season, probably finish it like it is this season. As we move into the new season, I think that QB accuracy is going to have to come down a little bit, I think, and the pass blocking is probably going to have to come down a little bit. I want to see how it finishes playing out with the update, but I feel like those 2 things, we got to see a few more sacks and a little bit less completion percentage here. But man, Richardson is an absolute terror here for these Indianapolis Colts. Taylor, I think this is on par for what we're seeing across the league. No one's super running away from it. We've seen Taylor be such a force to be reckoned with. It's weird to see him averaging just 52.1 yards per carry, but you can see his buddy DJ Giddens also getting it done. They're sharing carries. They're averaging both 5 yards a carry, both of them with 6 touchdowns on the year. And then Richardson's third here, 25 for 200, averaging 8 yards per carry. So a dual threat quarterback in all of the ways that he can. McDougal is leading the team in receptions, 84 for 1,617, one of the top wide receivers that we have in this league. You can see how good this offensive line is. Only 3 guys giving up sacks, and their worst one is his left tackle, only giving up 3 sacks. And we are well into kind of 3/4 of this league. Bynum getting it done on the defensive side of the ball with 27 solo tackles. His buddy Cross with 27 as well. And then the sack leader for this team is going to be Brown with 8.5 and Latu with 8. Next is going to be Buckner, Stewart. And then finally his interception leader, Tranquil, just making it happen there from Notre Dame. He's flying all over the place. And I think this is a user situation. Randy's so good usering with this guy. Franklin, I think, is very quietly always been a very good linebacker in this league. Kind of does everything, right? 16 solo, 44 assists, 10 tackles for loss, half a sack, 2 interceptions, 5 deflections. He's sort of all over the field. But the Colts definitely are going to be tied for my number 5 team in the league. My second team tied for number 5 has got to be the Dallas Cowboys. You can see his defense is as good as advertised. Parsons with 9.5 sacks on the year, but you can always see his efficiency here. Not throwing the ball around a lot. His QBR is not shown. Oh, there it is. 89.4 is his rating. 60%. Only 8 and 3, but he's efficient with him. Only 1,900 passing yards. McMullen, 150 carries, 865 yards, 11 touchdowns. Williams with 4 touchdowns, almost 500 yards. Receiving, these numbers are going to be a little bit lower because he's very efficient with the pass game, but 50 to Lamb with 680 yards, only 2 touchdowns. His tight end Shoemaker with 4 touchdowns. McMullen actually second on this team in receptions, 27 for 338 and 1. The offensive line playing superb here. There's been 5 guys to give up sacks, with the top ones only 2, and a bunch of guys with 1. That is really, really impressive. And this is another team that's Mr. Steady Eddie. I don't think he's maybe been as dominant as we've seen in the past, but still a 2-loss team, a team that's getting it done in every way possible. And he is tied with the Colts as my number 5 team. And then finally, I mean, we've got to tip the cap to what D-Money is doing here with the Rams. He's got a special defense. And with his imports, he's been able to create for himself a special offense. And I'm just waiting for somebody to give him a bunch of first-round draft picks so he can go out and get him a young quarterback and just dominate the rest of this Madden cycle. Spates with 32 solo tackles. Kitchens with 26. Tackles for loss leaders going to be Verse and Young. That defensive line is very good. Verse and Frisk with 11.5 and 8.5 respectively on the sacks. Chris Paul Jr. and Kitchens each with 2 interceptions on the year. That's numbers pretty low is what we've normally seen from D-Money. But look at Stafford, 36 and 9, 66% completion percentage, a 123.5 QBR is crazy impressive. Kyron Williams, 454, no touchdowns though. Corum, who I think is probably the better long-term running back for him, 333 with a 5.1 average, only 2 touchdowns from the running game for the Los Angeles Rams. Receiving, Tyson, who is Mr. Do-It-Everything, 82 for 1,073 and 13. He's averaging 13.1 yards per catch. Adams with 45, 648. Puka Nua, 37 for 617. A lot of these guys with touchdowns, all these guys making it happen there for the Rams. Offensive line, maybe not as good as the ones we looked at previously, but still pretty good. So I got Colts, Rams, and Cowboys tied for number 5. I think that they are just, I couldn't separate them. I just could not bring myself to separating them. Coming in at number 4, we got to go look at Kobe and these New York Jets. Man, he's playing really good football. We got to get the streaming thing figured out with him, and trust me, we're working on it. But look what he's doing with Justin Fields, 20-7 with a 68% completion percentage, a QBR of 117.7. Rushing the ball, Mayberry's 128 for 668 and 8 touchdowns. He's the touchdown leader for this team, but even Justin Fields with 41 for 251, a 6.1 average for the quarterback, able to make people miss. Arian Smith, 42 for 803 and 8. Wilson for 37 for 666 and 7. Tight end has 2. Mayberry has 2. He spreads the ball around. He's very, very efficient with his passing game. Offensive line, not amazing, but, still pretty solid when compared, I think, right at average when you compare it to the rest of the league. Looking at his defense, you can see Sherwood with 26 solo tackles, Thomas with 30 solo tackles. Your tackles for loss leader, Childress and McDonald, both of those guys are leading the team. And McDonald, man, putting a lot of pressure coming off that right end. 7 sacks in the day, Childress with 5.5. And then your interception leader, Milner. He knows how to build up really good DBs. Marshall, still don't know why Big Hurt sent him over there, but both of those guys with 4 interceptions on the day. And the Jets, I think, are one of the top teams in the OMFL and the top 3 team here in the AFC. They're coming in at my number 4 team. Coming in at my number 3 team, it's going to be a team that I think surprised me a ton here today, and it's going to be Logan and these Pittsburgh Steelers. Logan actually playing really good on offense when you see these numbers. 2,100 passing yards for Tua, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, only 5 sacks on the year. He did give up 2 this week to Mason, but still overall less than 10 sacks on the season. Efficient passing game, and Mason playing superb this week with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Running the ball, Caleb Johnson, 173 for 883, but this two-headed monster's getting it done. 94 for 680. He's staying committed to the running game, and the running game may be what carries him as we get to the second half of this season. 16-4 for each of those running backs. Metcalf, 41 for 698, 5 touchdowns. Talkin, the import, coming over here, 34 for 520 and 3 touchdowns. Still a deep threat guy. He's averaging 15.3 yards per carry. I see this duo of Metcalf and Cyrene only growing more comfortable together. This is that offensive line. Look at this. Only his center has given up 2 sacks. No one else has been accredited with a sack. That is going to lead you to winning football. Looking at his defense, Queen with 35, Holcomb with 31, Ramsey with 33, Shelton with 31. So a bunch of guys hustling to the ball, surrounding the ball, and making plays. Queen, Highsmith, Harmon, and Holcomb all with double-digit tackles for loss. And then your sack leader is going to be Highsmith with 7. And then his interception, a bunch of guys hustling to the ball. Wilson, Ramsey, each with 3. Queen, Holcomb, Shelton, and Robinson each with 2. And the Pittsburgh Steelers play really good, smothering defense, some playmakers all over the field. A little bit of a weirdly built team. I'm interested to watch what he does long term with this team. But it's been the efficiency of his running game and the play action, which leads his quarterbacks to be really good in the passing game. The Steelers are coming in as my 3rd best team. Coming in at number 2, it's been what I think has been the biggest surprise this season, not because of the owner, but because of the team. And that's going to be Bill and his New York Giants, man. Jackson Dart, probably hands down your quarterback rookie of the year. 2,669 passing yards, QBR of 104.1, 68% completion percentage, 11 interceptions, 20 touchdowns on the year. ETN, 102 for 501 and 5. Scatterboo, 65 for 226. Not a ton of guys doing great here, but Dart running just enough to keep you honest, and a lot of the touchdowns coming from ETN. I think ETN can be a bit hit or miss, but here's what's not hit or miss for this team. Neighbors, 83 for 1,211 touchdowns on the season. He's averaging 110.5 yards per game. Absolutely, hands down, one of the top 3 receivers in this league. And we keep going back to the offensive line. Solid. a little bit more above average. His left guard and center each have given up 3, but everybody else just 1. And then his defense, man, this defensive line, I played them. They are not fun. They're stupid. As soon as you hike the ball, they light up like a Christmas tree. They're really good. Enrique with 32 tackles on the season. Your tackles for loss leader, look at this. Carter, Burns, Lawrence, Enrique, Sullivan, McFadden. My goodness, all of those guys hustling to the ball. Carter, the rookie from Penn State, 11.5 sacks. Burns throwing in 8. Lawrence throwing in 6. I mean, this is his defensive line right here, fellas. Good luck trying to get over there. And this is a backup guy coming off the edge with 3.5 sacks. His interception leader is going to be Justin Simmons, which is interesting to see that guy making plays there for Bills. Banks, who I think is a really, really good player with 4 interceptions on the year. Beal getting it done in New York, smothering, aggressive, athletic, fast defense, and a quarterback that can make all the throws. Beal is an unstoppable force, and coming in, it's my second best team. And then finally, my number 1 team has to go to our old buddy, Mr. Denbrew. He's back with his favorite team. And man, he is rocking and rolling with this team. Hit a bit of a speed bump this past 2 weeks. Not as super fancy or pretty wins, but still wins nonetheless. Burrow with 30 and 12 and a 70% completion percentage, averaging 119.4 QBR on the year. Running the ball, which is usually where it's a strength for Denver, has not been as big of a strength for him. It's really been in the passing game, but still Brown with 9 touchdowns on the season. So when he gets him into the red zone, Brown can finish those drives with touchdowns. Chase and Bayless, 65 and 59 receptions, respectively. 1,035 passing yards, 910 passing yards, 10 and 9. This is a dynamic duo here for Denbrew, and both of those guys feel like they can be unguardable at times. He looks like he's got a pretty above-average offensive line. Just about everybody's been tagged with a sack. Left guard, right? Yeah, everybody. So everybody's been tagged with a sack, but only one from his left side of his offensive line. Looks like we've had some shared time there between Volson and Fairchild. Those guys are still making plays, and a solid offensive line there for Denbrew. Looking at his defense, his solo tackle leader is going to be Taylor Brick from the cornerback position. Wilson at the Sam linebacker position. And his tackle for loss leader is going to be Mallard. This guy, I think, is just going to be crazy good. He's going to be one of those guys that we look back and we're like, holy cow, how did that guy get here? Look at this, 24 solo tackles, 43 assists, 67 total, 13 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 5 interceptions. 6.5 sacks from Stewart, 5 there from Hendrickson, and then the interception leader is his Mike middle linebacker, Mr. Mallard, getting it done. Denbrew is going to come in as my number 1 team so far in the OMFL, and I can't wait to see as he continues to build that team, because I think he is going to continue to be a force. The hiccup, the bugaboo could come in the playoffs, but give him the number 1 seed. You got to come see him. That's going to be a problem for you. We'll be back for our next portion as we unlock the OMFL mailbag. Before we get to our question of the day, what does it take to build a top 5 team here in the OMFL? We'll be right back.
¿Estás dolido por Madden? Oh, pues llama 4444. Es Miguel. Te ayudaré a mejorar tu vida. No Madden, no McDonald's, McFlurry. Adiós, amigo. 444-4444. Llama, te puedo ayudar.
When your nips has been twisted, please call Miguel.
No hablamos inglés.
I love me some Miguel. Let's open up the OMFL mailbag coming from my buddy Shocks fan, whose name I don't seem to ever be able to remember. He's Luca in my head. He says, if you could add 1 offensive player and 1 defensive player from any team to your roster, who would you choose? I'd love to know if that means currently playing, like you steal them off of another player's roster, or are you talking about on just like historically your roster? I'm going to play this idea that you're talking about, just currently playing players. You can have any 1 player from each of them. I mean, look, I'm talking about my Saints team here, so I'm going quarterback, right? Immediately, I want a quarterback. I don't know which direction I would 100% go. I would definitely look at Daniels. I definitely look at Dart. I definitely look at Fargus. I look at some of these import guys. I would probably, my gut tells me I'd lean towards Jimmy Bowenko from Miami. I think he's both fast with a big arm. He can kind of do it all. I like the guys that are multifaceted. You can use their legs. You got the big arm. So offense, I'm definitely going quarterback. If you're talking about historically, I'm bringing back Hal. I wish I would still have Hal on this team. We miss his playmaking ability. I think with Shuck, those two, Shuck's played really solid for me, even though my record doesn't show it. Shuck overall has had a really, really good season. If you took names, faces, logos, records off and just like put him up next to Jackson Dart, he's not as good, but his stats at least make it a conversation for a second. If I'm looking at the defensive position, I probably want a playmaker on the outside. I want somebody that can make a play on the ball, on the outside, somebody with speed, with athleticism. I can put it up against the number one player on the other side. I feel like I've got enough players that still need work in the middle of my defense, but I want somebody that can stick on the outside, somebody that I can just like, hey, go cover the number one receiver, and I don't have to think about it. Probably Will Cole from the Carolina Panthers. Maybe I've got a thing for import players, and so I'm trying to think of some of the import cornerbacks, even though none of them are like doing amazing. Kirk Woodson from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's from LSU, big, tall, big body receiver that can run. Maybe Marshall. He seems to be a hot button topic that you just kind of, I want to put a guy out there and just not have to think about it or worry about it. That's coming from our buddy, Shocks fan. Mr. Bill says, if you had a choice, would you rather have your OMFL team go 12-5 and your favorite NFL team go 5-12, or vice versa? Vice versa. I am used to losing. The last 2 cycles have been a challenge. I'm sick of watching them lose and losing in the OMFL. I can lose here. You guys are all better players, play callers, team builders than I. The skills are starting to slip through my little pesky white fingers as I'm getting older, and I'm already working from behind. So I just think that let my NFL team be a better team and win more games than my OMFL team, and I'm totally fine with that. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Would you rather your OMFL team do better than your NFL team, or vice versa? Randy says, have you done any scouting so far? And if so, what areas of your team are you looking to address in the draft? I think it's no secret I don't have a quarterback on this team that I can draft or that I can build up. I can't build up Shuck. He's 27 already. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build him up. And so really and truly, I got to go quarterback, right? It is probably the best use of my investment. I don't know where we're going to fall. Right now, we're pretty high up there. I think I have the number one pick, or I'm tied for the number one pick, even though I think Priestess won a game here recently. So I may not win another game. I'm trying. I'm giving it my very best. In some of these games, I'm hanging close. I just can't close the door on the defensive side of the ball, and I can't make plays. I'm not getting sacks. I'm not getting turnovers. I'm not able to get the big play. So I'm going quarterback. The other positions that I'm thinking about long-term for my team is maybe 1 or 2 other offensive line possessions or positions, and be able to trade off some of those current positions and maybe get a couple of assets that I can continue to rebuild this team. I did that this past offseason, so I got a handful of third round and up picks that I can use to start to rebuild. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think I got to find a playmaker. I just don't have a playmaker, whether it's getting pressure and sacks on the quarterback, whether it's getting turnovers, whether it's in the middle linebacker position, kind of do-it-all player. I just need somebody that can make plays. What about you guys? Let me know down in the draft, in the chat. Engage with me. I read these. These help us. What would you looking to do? Where are you looking to a draft with your team in the draft? Mr. Randy says, what team so far have you been most pleasantly surprised in? Someone who's overperformed your expectations. I talked about it's my number 2 team in the league and Mr. Bill and those New York Giants, not because Bill is not a great player, not because Bill is not a overall overwhelmingly winning percentage coach in the OMFL, but because I just thought his team was going to take a bit longer. What I didn't take into consideration is how good that defensive line was going to be and perform, even in a kind of toned down, dumbed down defensive line that this Madden that this Madden has been. That defensive line is just crazy, crazy good. I think the other one that would be a 1B to them is got to be Kobe and the Jets. Arguably, only worse roster than the Jets would be my team, though Madden-wise, it's a pretty good roster. You get some speed, especially with his imports at running back, some speed at receiver, a quarterback that Madden-wise you can easily win with, and a defense that can make plays. I still think not an amazing roster, and yet he is still overperforming and outperforming what I think that roster would do in most people's hands. Nysinger says, what are the 2 attributes you look most for a quarterback for your team? I can't get away from it. I got to have a big arm. I'm not a dink-dunk, efficient, stay sort of between the hashes, 5 to 10, maybe 12 yards down the field. I like the big arm guy. I want to stretch you. I want to play action you and then hit you underneath, suck up those safeties, hit you over the top. I want that. That's the number 1 attribute. The number 2 attribute for me would be throwing under pressure. Teams in this league are going to get pressure on you. Some guys use their defensive linemen. So I need a quarterback that can stay true to the pocket. Don't get weird. Stay true. Make the throw if your feet are set. Get the ball down the field. I think there's a third that's like a 2B. It would be speed. I just haven't had that on my team in quite some time. My guys usually 80 to 84. That's nothing really to be excited about. I don't even know how good speed would do at the quarterback position in the last couple of Maddens, but I like the ability to run an option here or there. If the play breaks down, break the pocket, go make a play. And though Shuck has some mobility, it just hasn't been something that I can really lean on and game plan around. Mr. Denbrew says, when building your offensive line, do you like to get linemen that are all the same style, i.e. agile or power guys? Yes. I think my default the last couple of cycles has been power. I think this Madden, I've went agile. What I still struggle with is that I'm so old school is I just look at pass block, run block, and that those are the 2. I think in human versus human games, it is the combine the 2 pass block power, pass block finesse, run block power, run block finesse, those 2 combined. I also think that agile, you get the best development for your player when you're picking agile as the one that you want to train. And so I've moved to agile. I want guys that are quick. I want guys that'll finesse and power. If I had to pick one, I'd go power. But overall, the label that Madden has been given the guys that I've been building and how I've been developing them has been for the agile play range, because I just think that is what fits best this Madden. I see some other guys typing over there in the question, so I'd love to see what you guys are thinking. I'm going to catch up on the chat really quick. Randy says he wants his NFL doing better. I agree with you, Randy. Honestly, I have no idea where to go because you do have a lot of young talent, but you keep building your team the way you built them that last season of Madden 25. You're going to be fine. Just stay the course. You have another very weird roster. You just got to get them to fit your style. And then Randy says, I'm going to draft best player available. Well, that worked really, really good for you the last Madden. All right, one more commercial, and then when we come back, we are going to get over here and talk about what does it take to build a top 5 team here in the OMFL.
Turf toe make you miss a kick, pulled hamstring snuff out your tush push, or emotional trauma from a drop pass costing you an OMFL bowl? Here at the Bull Medical Facility, we treat real injuries, the ones you think you got while playing beer league football. Whether you strained your eyes looking for your speed wide receiver, or a muscle cramp slamming on those hit sticks, or even the rare case of chokitis like me, we've got you covered. Bull Medical Facility, pro care for your not so pro pain. Just ask for Dr. Vikes MD.
I love that these guys did this for me. I can't wait to see what else that maybe we can create over time if we're able to do that. I feel like I had to stretch those guys, but they did it. They did it pretty quickly. And all of them, every single one of them hit them out of the park. Really, really great stuff. I appreciate all of those guys. So what does it take to build a top 5 team in the OMFL? Quarterback, right? That's what everybody would think. That's exactly where everyone's mind goes. It's the quarterback position. And you can see some of the top teams in this league have really good quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, 30-12. What's interesting about some of these guys is some of them are being paid and some are not. Some of them are going to have to be paid here pretty soon. But Joe Burrow, a very good quarterback, 30-12. Richardson, not a great NFL quarterback, but Madden-wise, he can do it all. And Randy's getting it done, 35-15. Daniels for Penguins, 25-10. Who else we got here? Jordan for the Cardinals. They're hanging tough, man. He's 24-12. It's really, really good stats there for Maniac. The completion percentage is a little low. Everything else is really good. Trey with Herbert, 25-8. These are very impressive. You guys have heard me already goon over Beal, 23-11 with him. Who are these other top teams here that are playing really? Stafford, 36-9. I want to see what he does long term with him. Who are other? We talked about Fields, right? 20-7 with a 68% completion percentage. What about the run game? Well, Jags are leading the league, but we know that, though I love Randy, he and I are not top teams here, but you can see that the Steelers are, and they've got Johnson, 883-16. Dallas Cowboys, 865. McMullen really carrying this team, and 11. Walker, 770-6. Breece Hall, maybe this is a big reason the Vikings have turned things around, 757-7. Big trade between the Jets and the Vikings to kind of flop big-time superstars there. Even though I don't think Breece Hall is an unreplaceable superstar, but he's making it happen there for that team in Minnesota. Cooks, Henry, right? But again, these are not crazy inflated numbers. I actually like where these numbers are overall. I think I'd like to make it a little bit better, but I think overall, it's not the running game that's making it happen. What about receiving? These numbers are always a little crazy inflated in this league, but McCool, 84 for 1,617. Neighbors, 92, 1,414. Richards, 97, 1,410. Burden getting it done there. Trying to find some of the other top teams here. Man, the Bears have a couple of guys that are towards the top here. Earl Lowry, 80 for 1,110. Tyson, 82, 1,073. Even though all of these positions are important, I think quarterback would be the second most important position. I think it ultimately comes down to the offensive line. I want to look at downs played here. Hopefully this will look the way that I want it to, but look at the teams with just 1 or 0, right? We've got the Bears and Pats. Not amazing teams, but teams that are up there, especially the Bears here. Let's look at some of these teams that have 0. Bears, really good offensive line. I've seen 3 of their guys up here in plays, but not up here in sacks. The Giants here with a handful of guys. We got a lot of Giants now popping up. The Steelers, they're one of the top teams. In my opinion, it starts with the offensive line. That's where everything is going to start and stop in the OMFL. If you've got an offensive line first that can protect the quarterback, can open up running lanes, then give your quarterback time to get the ball downfield, but also work underneath, and then you pair it with a pairing of a very good quarterback, then you're setting yourself up for a winning season. And if that quarterback is on a rookie deal and the offensive line overall are young-ish, I think under 35, then you're setting yourself up for a run in a cycle. And I think the third thing I would add there is a playmaking defense. I'm talking about a defense with athleticism, with speed, that can go and that can make plays. You want defensive linemen that can get after the quarterback. Abdul Carter, right? He's making it happen. Hutchinson, I know the Lions aren't having the season that they want, but he's still making plays. I know Bird is not having the season that he wishes he wants, but he's got a rookie with 8 sacks and 23 tackles for loss. You can see my guy Davis still getting done for tackles for loss. Brian Bird, so 2 giant players here towards the top, 3 giant players here towards the top. Again, that defensive line for those Giants are just crazy, crazy good. Latu, right? 21 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. These are guys that are able to put pressure on the quarterback. And I think when you have a playmaker on the defensive line or on the edges, if you're running a 3-4, then you're able to really make a difference. That's the 3 pairing to me. Offensive line as a whole, a quarterback that can make plays because of that offensive line, and then a defensive line that gets after the quarterback. I think that's what leads to the bad decisions with the interceptions, which are low this season, right? Overall, they're pretty low. But if you've got a defensive line that can force the quarterback into some really bad decisions, some bad plays, not efficient on third down, then you're putting the ball back into your offensive hand. And if it's a young quarterback with an offensive line, then you're setting yourself up for success. And that's what I think are the top 3 things that it takes to build a top 5 team here in the OMFL. One more commercial, and when we come back, I'm going to rant for the week on what's going on. We're going to talk FPR tonight. Not the funnest thing in the whole wide world, but we'll do that and then wrap up the show. Take it away, Bill.
Leaky pipes, clogged drains? Forget about it. Call Tony the Wrench Romano, New York's most connected plumber. Listen, I don't just fix pipes. I make problems disappear. Fast, quiet, clean. Just like Norna taught me. And maybe a couple uncles. Licensed, bonded, respected. No job too big, no secret tunnel too small. You can call someone else. Maybe they show up. You call me, I make sure it gets done. We don't just stop the leaks, we stop the talking. Now serving all 5 boroughs, and nobody asks questions.
That last part about now serving all 5 boroughs gets me every single time. All right, 1 minute on the clock to talk FPR. This is going to be a challenge for me to go 1 minute. But as you guys seen, we had our first really big report on Logan. And I got to be honest with you guys. Here's sort of what happens in the OMFL is let me start with expectations. I'll tell you what I see as a general rule, and then we can explain what happened with Logan specifically. And so that if it seems to resonate with you, then maybe you can sort of head things off before they become a problem for yourself here in the OMFL. But the expectations are that when there is a break, number one, you have an ability to own it and make it right. So if you break a rule, then you figure out how to make that right. I'm not going to go through all the scenarios. My minute would be up. You just make it right. If you can't make it right, then you have to fall on the sword. You got to figure it out with the other guy. You got to own it. You need to take the lead in owning it when you know that you broke FPR. You need to self-report one way or the other, even if you make it right. You broke an FPR. We have the easiest FPR we've had in many cycles. You need to own it, take your hit, and lose your FPR incentive. It's 3 XP. It's not the loss of the world. You can figure that part out. Then you're supposed to communicate. Even if the guy doesn't know that he made a mistake, have the conversation. Hey, I seen A, B, and C. I try not to pause or send messages in games. I will be honest with you. My emotions take over sometimes, and I do it. Or if I see several things in a row, I'll do it. You try your best to not say anything unless you're seeing a repeated offense time and time again. And it's like, yo, hey, we're trying to play this game. I'm still in it. Like, stop doing this. This is against FPR if you didn't know. Or if it's simple, it's like, hey, don't forget this is FPR. Like, don't do that, right? But overall, usually that doesn't lead to a good communication. If you can let it wait, let it wait. But you're expected to be adults and just have the conversation. Hey, Randy, there's 2 of you in here, so I said I picked your names on purpose. But I seen this. This is an FPR break. Did you see this? Did you know that? Did you forget? Did you make a mistake? Like, what happened? And then it's like, cool, we got on the same page. You need to go self-report. And if they don't, and it was bad enough, then you need to report them. I know it sucks, but that's why we have the system we have, is to hold each other accountable. And that's the expectation. 2 adults having an adult conversation, figuring out together, and then reporting on it. If it's a minor thing, and if you don't know where the line is between minor and major, I don't mind having the conversation. It's probably a lot of shades of gray in there, but I would expect the 2 guys can figure it out together. then I'm fine with it not being reported. Like the guys who are in blowouts trying to make a comeback and they don't get enough runs. I don't expect you to get enough runs when you're in a blowout and trying to make a comeback. You should hit the minimum. It's pretty easy. What is it, 12, 14, whatever? It's a low number. You should be consistently getting those in. But I'm not going to bash somebody over the head for not enough runs with the running back. Switching the block a punt, that's a big no-no. Breaking the non-wide receiver rule, big no-no. Scoring a touchdown on an FPR break that wins the game, big no-no. Here's what happened with Logan specifically. He did not turn himself in, and the other owner didn't turn him in. And the overall vibe is that, well, no one likes to turn somebody else in. And my answer to that is sorry. I expect you to be an adult if you play here. That's why our name is what our name is. This was like a super, what's the word I'm looking for? Passive aggressive is not the word I want to use, but I don't know. I'm looking for a slang, but I can't come up with one. But the reason we named Grown Folks is because I'd given the OMFL to somebody else. I needed a break. 2 cycles, 3 cycles later, I didn't even ask for it back as commissioner. I just said, let me be on the board. Let me help again. I'm in a better place. Let me get back involved in my baby, the thing I created. I was told no. I stayed for a couple more seasons, and I was like, you know what? I'm itching. Like, I want to get back into this. I'm in a better space. I've matured. I've grown. So I thought, so I went and started Grown Folks because I was like, you guys aren't treating me like an adult. I'm an adult here. Like, why can't we have adult conversations? You guys are acting like middle school kids. And to be honest, I think that league is still going. And some of them over there still act like kids. There's another league that left here and tried to take owners, and like old guys that used to play here play over there. I still see it going. And again, kids who just act super immature. Like, I'm not perfect, but nobody here can say I haven't owned my stuff. I'm way over my minute now because now I'm getting off of my stuff. Let me go back to what happened, Logan. Logan had 5 FPR great breaks in 3 games. The reason I know that is because board members were watching those games and seeing the FPR breaks. We have guys that watch around here. You can't get away with anything. If you do something weird, someone here is going to see it, and someone here is going to say something. It's just our guys are engaged, and that's what I want. And so it was brought to me. I brought him to him, and the other owner is like, well, I didn't want to turn him in, or I didn't notice, or whatever. And these were like major FPR breaks. Logan switched on a punt block to get the player to block the punt, and then recovered it and ended up being the game winner. Switched multiple times on a defensive play. Did that in other games. Switched multiple times on a defensive play. Broke. If you're streaming, what's that mean, Bird? You got, oh, you mean some guys don't stream? We can talk about that too real quick. Broke the non-wide receiver catch rule. And then had some other sort of what I would think a little bit more minor ones, but it was just too many. And so it was like, all right, I got to put you at the end. Level 2, board vote of your ownership, big time suspensions. And to his credit, he took it like a man. And we had as good of a conversation as you can have. Like, it's hard to not come off like I'm like some power trippy person, like, you know, punishing people with a ruler. Like, we're texting. It reads weird. I try to be as like cordial and adult and respectful. Like, you guys are adults. You all have lives and families and other things you could do. Like this, I don't want to take it too serious and treat you like it's serious. But at the same time, it's like, this is serious. This does matter. This is my hobby. This is where we spend our time. So anyway, it is serious, and I expect it to be serious. And when the rules are so simple, I expect you just to hit 100%. They're too simple not to remember. So that's why we felt where we were. Let's talk about the streaming thing. We do have a handful of guys that are not streaming right now. I've got board members handling that. If you see a guy that isn't streaming, you got to tell me. I can't stay that engaged. I can't know everything. It's sort of impossible, but you're expected to stream here. There's one owner in particular that was not streaming in a league here, was asked to, and they got really immature about it. And the title of his stream was something petty. That was the word I was looking for a while ago. Grown folks is here because I was being a little petty with the name. Anyway, that owner named something in their title to be petty. And I'm like, why are you doing that, man? He said, well, people freak out about stuff that don't matter. I was like, it does matter. It's a rule. Don't do weird stuff, stream. Like, stupid things like that just kind of drive you insane. Every one of you expected to stream. If you can't stream, you're expected to record and then upload that immediately. And if you can't do either, then we have to take your ownership. You got to go play somewhere else because you can't play here. Those are the minimum requirements. I don't go as far as to make you hardwire, but like minimum requirements are to have good enough internet to play and stream. Figure it out. And if you're in a place you can't, like a life season that you can't, let's have the conversation. Let's come up with a plan. It can't be the forever answer, but we can give mercy and grace and period for people to get their stuff together. But even like the cheapest internet nowadays, if you hardwire to it, it's plenty strong enough to stream and play this game. Now, if you have super bad spotty internet and your Wi-Fi, probably not. But you guys got to figure that out. So there are some bare minimum requirements. We're working on it with one owner in particular. I don't know who else is out there who is not also streaming, but you guys can definitely let me know. Bird says board members watch some games if the game is being streamed. Yes, I understood what you meant after I sort of deciphered it in my head a little bit. And look, I can be honest with you. We have a handful of guys here that have created for themselves an unfriendly persona. And when you're unfriendly and you have bad interactions with other owners, they're watching you like a hawk. It just is what it is. I believe that some guys here don't get as much of a hyper focus because they're a little bit nicer, kinder, and have better relationships and experiences. That's life. I tell people all the time, I did not get the promotions and the opportunities I have at work because I'm super smart. That is not it. I am slightly I think I was a B student, like a 3.0 on the dot student in high school. I probably would have been a C student in college. I'm not the smartest dude in the world, didn't even go to college. I got my opportunities in life because I try really hard, even though I know there's a bunch of people online, bunch of people in other leagues, and probably a bunch of people in this community that would say otherwise. I really do strive to be a nice person, a good person, and I stumble and fall flat on my face sometimes and totally screw it up and make a fool of myself as always. That happens. But overall, I think I live a life where I just try to be a nice guy, and that's why I get those opportunities. I don't know why I got off on this. I was just trying to say that you don't want the microscope. Be a little bit of a nicer, more engaged owner here, and probably people won't have you under a microscope is bad. So, all right, that's my rant is way over the minute. We've covered a lot here tonight. I can't wait to be back with you again next week. I'll be back, I think, on Monday night, though, as I'm playing Mr. Cincyberg. Should be, hopefully I can give him a good game. I don't know what to expect with my team here in the OMFL. And if I get an opportunity, I'll stream tonight some shooters. It depends on if the guys are on or not. So I haven't streamed some shooters in some while. All right, I'm going to go hang out with my wife. Take care of yourselves, guys. I'll see you a little later tonight. Peace.
Smash that like and subscribe.